Hey everyone, welcome back to the arena. I'm MD, joined here by Kobe, and once again, just another awesome guest that we'll wait to get into. First and foremost, want to thank everyone who continue to show love and appreciation and followership. But without further ado,
What's up, guys? We've got, like MD said, first of all, thanks for the support, and we've got Kenzie Vance here. Kenzie works out at the same gym as me, and is a actually I'm gonna let Kenzie because she does a lot. It's hard to describe what Kenzie does. She does a lot of different things. I'd say an entrepreneur. So without further ado, Kenzie, why don't you just provide a background on who you are, how you got to where you are today? Like, who is Kenzie Vance?
Okay, well, that's a big one. Well, hi, thank you for having me. I do Instagram stuff, TikTok stuff, the influencer thing. That's what I
So,
think.
influencer.
Influencer, I hate the word, we all hate it, but let's be real, that's what it is. That's what most people would know me for. But my main job is I'm a bodybuilding coach. So I work for a company called Hustle Harder. So I work with like lifestyle people, so people that just have any kind of goal, and then people that want to get on stage and compete in bodybuilding. So those are like the two main big ones, and then whatever I sell T-shirts and shit like that. But beyond that, it's like the influencer thing, and then bodybuilding are like both of my things.
What would you prefer to? What would you prefer title wise? Like, what do you like doing more?
What do I like doing more? It depends on the week. I think I get most of my like fulfillment from coaching, by far. Like that's my long term thing. I always say like the internet can leave tomorrow. Like I love like influencing and sharing with people. It does get a lot at times, but coaching my clients, like that's when I'm like, okay, this is what I'm meant to do. Like I'm doing this for a reason.
what was the inspiration to get into the bodybuilding field and then coaching?
That's a big one too. So I used to work in marketing, and then I'm basically just your classic like fat girl, lost weight, really got into weightlifting, and then just throughout that time, like I just got in the gym more, I liked lifting, and then I followed bikini girls, and I followed them for like inspiration.
What's I don't know.
So like bikini, it's just a division. So like girls that just like compete, you see them just like in the sparkly bikinis on stage with the dark tans.
Yeah.
But I would follow them through their preps, which is them prepping for a bodybuilding competition. So food is low, cardio's high, and this is during COVID that I followed a lot of them. And I was just kind of like, if you can do all that, I can get whatever the hell I gotta get done. So they were just kind of my source of inspiration. And then throughout following them on Instagram and TikTok and everything, I was like maybe I could do that someday. And then I told myself that I would not do it until my, oh, I can maybe do it turned into like, yes, I'm doing this. And then once I got that like fire inside me, that I got a coach. And then my coach is actually, she's now a friend of mine, but she's who I work for now. So if I never inquired with her, would I be coaching to this day? I don't know.
So walk us back for like let's back up a bit. Before even the marketing role, you mentioned that you were physically overweight.
Yeah.
And
What is it? Classic fat girl.
Yeah, like it's just like the typical story, but classic fat girl. I lost weight. Now I love working out, and now this is what I do.
I'm not going to be saying classic fat girl too often on a show here, but so physically overweight. What were the I guess what's life like for somebody like that who, and again, we're men in the arena, and so just I think there's a different social pressure. I think
Yeah.
on women in particular. I think you have a really interesting perspective of having been on both sides of that fence.
Yeah.
So on the one side of the fence, as physically overweight, what is that? What's a day in the life for
Well, what I always say too, because I think a lot of people assume like when you're overweight, you're not confident. And like I'm only confident now because I'm thinner, which isn't the case at all. I always say I was confident in who I was as a person, who I was shown to the world, not so much. Obviously, as a female, because when I started the whole weight loss journey, I was in college, I was a freshman in college, and I had just moved to LA. And at that time, it's like all the vegans, like acai bowls. Like I lived right by USC, so every girl's tall, blonde, hot, and skinny. And so you kind of feel like that's the standard. But then also during that time, that's when Kardashians and like slim thick was a thing. So I remember telling myself, I'll say it, the reason that I got into weight training is because I was like, nah, you can be hot if you want to. Like I was like, I know I can have a big body if I try. And that's kind of how I got into it. But I always say that the only reason I was successful, because every woman's done this, you like yo-yo diet your entire life. The only reason I was successful, in my opinion, is because I was getting sick, like my freshman year of college, and I was like, okay, we gotta stop this shit. Like you gotta like at least eat better and work out a little bit, just for your own health. And that's why I think I was actually successful that time, because I wasn't just trying to be skinny. if that makes sense.
Had you tried previously and failed? Like, were there were there attempts that failed?
For me, so I was a dancer growing up, so that's a lot of cardio. So I was I'd eat a ton all the time. So I was still like the overweight girl, but it was once I stopped dancing that I really gained weight because I stopped all that cardio. So, like, yes and no. Does that make sense?
Where did the confidence? You said you were always self-confident.
Yeah.
Where were you ever not? Was there a point in your life when you weren't confident in who you were? And if you've always been self-confident, like, where did that come from?
Yes, I think it's weird because especially if you know me now, I'm very loud and very outgoing. I used to be so anxious and so quiet and so shy, and I would not talk to anyone. And I think just as I got older too, my mother was a big person when it came to that, just help me, because she's always just been so, she can go to any social situation, be fine. Like, both my parents are so just social beings, and I don't think I've ever witnessed them being anxious in my entire life.
Wow.
Like, I don't think they even understand what anxiety is, because they just are, and they just do what they want, and I kind of learned from that way. But also, like, in high school, I was just so scared of everyone for no reason. But I've always been funny.
Well, you say no reason, but what was the reason at that time in your mind?
In my mind, like, I was not cute. I was fat. I just kind of like to be with my friends. But then my friends were always really social, so they would have a ton of friends. And I think there kind of came a point where I was like, well, why can't I do that? Like, why am I so scared of people? Like, that was my biggest thing when I was younger. And the quote that changed my life, it sounds so simple. People are just people. That, like, completely changed how my brain thinks.
Why?
Because you put so much thought into, like, oh, this person, they're older than me, they're more successful than me, they're whatever, right? At the end of the day, we're all just people. Like, they are not more important than you. They're not, even if they might be doing more than you, that doesn't make, I don't know, to me, it's like, why do I have to be scared of them? They're just another human. I'm a human, too. At the end of the day.
What is the start of that journey like? Because I know the gym can be a really intimidating place.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a little bit of conditioning in a sense that you talked about being by USC. You're kind of surrounded by an environment of physically aesthetic people. You know?
But you're very good with your words.
You show up to a gym, which is a pretty extreme environment.
Yeah.
And I know that alone is a deterrent for a lot of people. And, like, what advice would you have for somebody who is at that point in their journey where they want to make changes, but it's not for a lack of drive, but really it's more insecurity and fear and intimidation of just the environment that sometimes you have to step into.
Yeah.
Scared to step into a new arena, kind of.
Yeah. I think I talk about this a lot, like, on TikTok, because most of my following is women, right? And especially women when it comes going into a gym. A lot of men, I feel like you think you're supposed to know what to do when you go to the gym. Like, I'm a man, other guys know how to do this. Like, I walk in, I should know what to do. Women immediately assume that they don't know and that men know more than them when they walk into a gym. And so a lot of women, that's why you'll see them go to the corner. They'll take their set of dumbbells, they'll go in the corner, they don't want to bother anyone. My whole thing was fake it till you make it. Nobody was going to know that it was my first time in a gym. Like, ever. Like, I was not going to let you think that. Like, even if I had no idea what I was doing, I was confident. I was going to be right where all the dudes were, right by the dumbbell racks. I was going to, I don't know. I had my YouTube videos I do on my phone, but in my mind, I knew that the confidence I just had to fake. And I know that's so much easier said than done, and I don't know why I did it.
At what point does that fake confidence become real?
Once you know what you're doing. Because what I used to do is I would find other influencers, and they would have YouTube videos. Like, let's say it was dumbbell-only shoulder workout. And I didn't know what a military press was. I didn't know what a lateral raise was. I don't know what any of that shit was. So what I would do is I would take little clips on Snapchat, save it to my memories on my phone, and write lateral raise 4x15. So then when I had taken all those videos in my Snapchat, it was like a library of exercises. So that when I was in the gym and I'm reading my workout program and it says lateral raise, and I'm like, what the hell is lateral raise? I could go to my little library and see what it was. And then over time I taught myself, because your confidence comes from just knowing what you're doing a lot of the time. And once you realize, like, oh, I don't suck at this. Like, I'm not like a beginner anymore. Oh, I can do this. Then it starts to get better. And I think as you get stronger, that's where a lot of confidence comes from too.
Confidence comes from taking action.
Yeah.
You have to start somewhere. Like,
Exactly.
You're not going to be a professional. Like, I'm, for example, I'm doing my first improv show tonight.
Okay.
And
cool.
so I'm not as confident as I will be 6 months from now, because I haven't gone on stage before.
Yeah.
But you have to start somewhere, and I think that's kind of the fake it till you make it. Like, I'm going to go up there with my chest out, like I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Inside, I'm going to be like, holy shit, I got 10 minutes here. There's a full stage with lights on me. But you have to start somewhere, and I think that for any new arena. And I think it's great that what you've done. I mean, to be honest, you could probably tell me what to do at the gym. You know, like, and I have on the topic of in the gym, like as a woman, I'm just more curious. How often are guys coming up to you? How often are you being hit on? And like, how do you like navigate that situation? Because I think a lot of women probably do have maybe some anxiety around that.
Yeah, that's part of the intimidation factor to even start.
My answer is not going to be probably what you want.
No, I don't want anything. I'm just genuinely curious.
I always say this. Guys don't hit on me in the gym, but I also don't think I give, like, scared, like, approachable energy, really. I don't think I give that off, where I tell women this all the time. Like, if a guy comes up to you, I don't think it's weird when you, like, pursue someone in the gym. I don't know if that's unpopular. I don't think it's
checks
weird.
a huge box for me, at least.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't think it's weird. I think it's weird when you go on and hit on someone.
Yeah.
If you are just, like, make it known that you want to talk to them, you'll figure out right away if their energy's there or not. Like, I've gone out with dudes from the gym before, but it's not because it's weird from the get-go. But I think a lot of women, like, when it comes to guys, you kind of have to, if they don't stop you, just have to be mean. I'm sorry, being nice does not work. Like, it doesn't. It's like,
so do you put on that front preemptively? Because
I think I'm gonna be honest. Like, when I walk into a new gym, I'm walking with my chest up, like, kind of like, don't fuck with me just because I'm a woman in this gym. Like, because this is what'll happen as a female in the gym. A guy will come up to you. Oh, you shouldn't do that. You should do this. Oh, you shouldn't be lifting that heavy. You should do this.
I think they call that mansplaining.
Yeah, exactly.
I just mansplained that one.
Mansplaining. No, seriously. Like, I've had guys at Mo that have done that to me before, and I just kind of look at them like, did I ask? Like, when did that happen? I don't remember asking for your opinion on this. And then they kind of walk away, but a lot of girls will be like, haha, like, okay. Sometimes if you're too nice and you have a dude like that in the gym, you have to be mean. And I know that's why I say I don't think that's the answer you wanted, but you kind of have to.
I mean, I've had my experiences, and I haven't done it often. One, because it's uncomfortable for me, and I think most people don't want to be bothered at the gym anyway.
Yes.
I've had one situation where I don't know if you, like, I went up to you, like, I try to be friendly.
No,
like,
you're
personable.
nice. You're not weird. This only happens with weird dudes.
And I did, and I just, introduced myself, and she wasn't really giving me and I wasn't looking for much of the time of day. Like, I'm just looking for, hey, like, can we go out sometime? Like, let me, 'cause I don't want to be talking to you at the gym anyway. I know you're here to work out. I'm here to work out. Just, can I get your number? Well, and she was kind of standoffish, and then she said, yeah, here's my Instagram. I just sent her, like, a message the next day, something like, good to meet you, loved it, like I said, over a drink or coffee, whatever. And she blocked me. And I was just like, wow.
How old was she, do you know?
Probably 26, and I'm 28. I was 27 at the time. And it just made me think that, like, at first, I like, you take it personal, the ego, but then it's like, that's more of a reflection of her, but also, I don't necessarily blame her, because she's probably had some creepy guys go up to her.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily blame her, but it was surprising to me. I'll just say that.
Okay, the blocking is because I don't know what the thought process was. Like, is she blocking you, not going to the gym ever again?
No, I saw her at the gym after that.
That's like, why are we blocking?
Yeah, I know. It just made it awkward. Like,
yeah, no, it's just weird. No, I will say, like, most, like, the weird guys I'm talking about, it's like a dime a dozen. Like, I think most guys have a brain enough to know, like, let's not be weird, or I don't know. Like, it's
Mode is small too. To be fair, if it's Mode,
and you kind of like know everyone there,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Like, it doesn't happen a lot to me, but I see it happen to other women. I see it at that gym all the time too, where when I see a new girl walk in, I know exactly the 3 dudes that are gonna go up and talk to her, and I get protective because I'm like I've gone up to girls in Mode where I know guys that have like talked to her, like said something, whatever, and I was like, don't let them like tell you what to do in here. And they're like, okay, like, because the women are scared to be there. Like, they're so scared. So any dude that says anything, they're like, okay, like, they're not gonna stand up for themselves.
So let's get into that, because now you, so you start to become a coach, a bodybuilding coach, and I think it's bigger for you than just technique and form and routine, but you're really coaching beyond that in a more holistic sense, confidence, how to carry yourself, maybe not just in the gym, but as a woman in the world.
Because
and
it translates.
Right, absolutely. So what were some of the key things that you learned in your journey that you say are like, these are my core things that I'm going to try to teach my clients?
So I always say the best thing my coach ever taught me, it's going to sound simple, but she said, nobody has your physique and that's your power. And I know you hear, oh, physique, right? that really comes to who you are as a person and realizing that, hey, I'm not striving to look like this person, this influencer, this whoever. I'm going to be the best version of who I am, and you're not trying to chase someone else. That completely changed me. I also think just discipline in the gym translates to every aspect of your life. I never have a client that's worked with me for 8, 9, 10 months, and that discipline doesn't translate into other aspects of their life where they're not standing up for themselves. That's the best part about coaching. Like when I have people talk to me about their real lives and how they're more confident, or they stood up for themselves in this stance, or I'm getting out of this shitty life situation. At the end of the day, like the physique part of it, I don't give a shit about.
I've never heard discipline as described as standing up for yourself, but that's so true, right? Because discipline ultimately is doing what is required for what you ultimately are trying to gain.
Oh, yeah.
And that is, in some form, you can argue, is like standing up for yourself, literally.
It's even like when people say that confidence is really just trusting yourself, and the more you trust yourself and you follow through on the stuff that you say you're going to do, that's how you build confidence.
Yeah, it's keeping promises to yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
What are the common reasons that most women seek you out to do bodybuilding? Is it insecurity that they want to be more confident in themselves, or like what are common reasons?
So I do both bodybuilding competitively, and then lifestyle, which is just anyone that has a goal.
So probably two different types.
Yeah, so I get two different types of people. I get a lot of girls who want to lose weight. They haven't been able to. They don't have the accountability, or they just haven't been able to do it by themselves. And then they have people that, the other side of it, who want to compete. People that see my journey from me being overweight to now being a competitor, and then also my coach, and then other of her athletes. We're all friends, and you see us on social media. A lot of us have followings, and a lot of people that are hey, I want to do that. I want to prove to myself that I can do this, because I talk about that a lot of the time. My journey from, oh, maybe I'll do that someday, to if it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no for me. I get a lot of people like that they're that was the switch that I needed to just say I'm doing this, and just kind of people that want to go all in. If that makes sense.
How does this all, what's the relationship of your journey with your mental health? Because we talked about faking your confidence, but talk about your absolute lowest points, and then how has your physical journey then translated into, in some ways, a mental journey or mental progress. And I'm assuming that's the case, because it tends to be a little bit connected.
Yeah, there is a connection. I'll talk about the big one that most people know. So I moved here in August of 2020 let's go back. So college, right, I was in marketing. I'm a 2020 grad. So I went home in March of 2020, lived with my parents for 2 weeks, ended up being 6 months, moved to Chicago with a friend that was quarantined back at home too, got in grad school down here. We lived with each other from August of 2020 until November of 2021, because she passed away randomly. Yeah. So my best friend that I moved here with, I still live in the same apartment to this day. She passed away. She got pneumonia out of nowhere, completely took over her body. She died within 48 hours. Just fluke death. So that's what a lot of people know my journey for, and I think that's a big reason why I have the following I have. I always say I have a cult-like following, because for me, bodybuilding is so much deeper than just getting on stage. I always say you need to have a why, because otherwise any short-term distraction is going to get you every single time. If you don't have a why, your long-term goal is never happening. I will say that was a big shit. That was the moment, because I had a lot of people in my life oh, is bodybuilding worth it? Because you sacrifice a lot with bodybuilding. People think of food most of the time, right? Especially when you're prepping. And I had a lot of people are you sure it's worth it? And her dying was the one time that I was this is the only thing that saved me.
Explain that a little bit deeper.
Your why?
Yeah, what's your purpose then? And why is that for her in your mind?
For her, because she died at 23. And so for me, I was depressed for months, right? There was obviously a long low point, and I'll never forget on her birthday, I'm on my close friend's story, all depressed in my bed, and her younger sister texted me. She's what the hell are you doing? Why are you not shaking your ass in a bar right now? Sam would be so pissed at you. Get your ass up. And that's when I realized that I had to live the life that she doesn't get to live. And so I have to do everything that she doesn't have the chance to do now. And that's kind of where my mindset shifted. And then 4 months later after that point, I started my prep for my show. And that entire prep was dedicated to her.
It's really crazy how often it takes such a traumatic event for us to wake up. all of this can
Yeah.
get taken away tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Or, you know, you find that someone got really sick and they've got a few months to live. It's really, I don't want to say a shame, but like I think it just goes to the importance of gratitude and being grateful. I mean, for me, like I didn't appreciate life until I went through kind of my mental health journey. And it's just crazy to me that we take so much of this for granted. It's so easy to do, and I've done it for a long time, so I'm not faulting anyone that does. But it just I'm sorry for your loss, because that's just
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it recently. It's like we'll wait for a health scare to start to then make a change to our daily habits and our health, but it's almost like hypocritical, because we should know already that like it's scary to us to not be healthy or to be facing the hospital bed, right? And it's like if push when push comes to shove and you're facing that sort of like event, it's like, what were you waiting for? You know, and other than just being in denial. And I guess what was that transformation like for you? Like, what was the purpose before that? And then it seems like it kind of took a new height.
Yeah, it definitely did. I think I lost my why for a while. Like, my why for me was just, like, proving to little me that I can do it and I can be happy regardless of what I look like. But it was, like, strength training was always a performance thing for me. That's why I said, if you asked me 4 years ago, I would have told you I'm never bodybuilding. That's stupid. Why would anyone want to do that? Get in a fucking bikini to go on stage? That's stupid. So that's why I say never, because here I am. But I think when Sam died, like, it's easy when you're bodybuilding to be so isolated, especially before I had, like, any kind of internet presence, I didn't have friends that did this. Like, it's just me. I'm not going out on a Friday night. Like, I'm just doing my thing. So it gets really isolating. So you say no to a lot of things. After she died, I say yes to way more things now. Like, I just do more, and I've made so many more friendships. And even when I look at the life I have now, I'm like, she would be so happy for me, because it's completely different than the life that I think it's the person that she knew I wanted to be, but I wasn't living that when she was here.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Like, we all have in our heads of like what we like to do, what gives us joy, but you ultimately don't really know until you actually go out and do things.
Yeah.
Like you said, you would never in a million years think you'd be standing on stage, like for a bodybuilding competition.
Oh, yeah.
I never thought I'd be getting on stage tonight to do a theater, comedy, improv. But when you start trying new things and listening to your heart and where it's telling you to go, your world just opens up. Like, has there been anything else for you that you're like, wow, like I actually really enjoy this and I wouldn't have thought so?
I don't know, like,
or like friends, types of people.
Friends, like, as much as I talk a lot of shit, anybody that follows me knows this, like, on the internet, I get a lot of hate based, you could probably tell either like you really like me or you really hate me. Like, there's really not that much of an in-between with my social media presence, at least. The friends I have met from being sponsored by, like, Dark Sport, for example, like, have changed my life. Like, for example, I was with one of my friends from Dark Sport. We met a year ago, but we traveled. We were in Utah, we were in Houston, we were in LA together last weekend, all last month, and somebody made a comment on a video. I posted, like, a cute little video of us, like, dancing at the club together, and someone was like, Sam is so happy for you right now, and she was like, Sam sent her to you, and I was just like, she did. And I, like, truly believe that, because the friendships I have now with people that I never would have met, like, without the internet, like, it's absolutely crazy to me.
Well, so how do you manage your psyche when it comes to, like, all of the hatred that might be coming your way? Like, are you one to, I forgot what we were talking about exactly. It was like, would you read it all? Like, would you put it all away? Would you at least be curious enough to hear what's being said? Like, maybe that's kind of transformed over time, but, like, what is that like when you're viral, so to speak, and you have a volume of projection coming at you as a person?
Yeah, I'm better than I used to be. When you talked about your mental health just kind of changing, like, with a traumatic event, I will say how I react to social media hate since Sam died has changed. Like, now I'm just like, none of this matters. Because even after she passed, I, like, made a video and I told them, I was like, I can't sit here and tell you how to lose weight, because it just sounds so fucking stupid. Like, I'm going to sit here and be like, this is how you go to the gym and this is how you meal prep when someone just died. Like, I'm not going to do that. When it comes to hate, I used to get so much more than I do now, but that's also why I got more followers. Like, you get more engagement when you respond to hate, right? Mm-hmm. So, for instance, I used to be a piece of shit. So people would always come for my squat whenever I would squat, I have strong legs, okay? I can hack squat like 6 plates. So when an insecure dude sees that, oh, they get so mad and they go in their little fingers, blah, blah, blah. And so I get so much hate. But what I would do is I would go to their page, I would screen record their squat and then post it and talk shit about it. I'm a menace. I did not care at all. But I think it wasn't until December of this last year that I realized that I was putting like my own mental sanity like on the back burner for content. And I did that for a long time where I felt like I owed people, not even when it comes to hate, just like content, and because I overshare and I share so much of my life that I kind of like resented the expectation, if that makes sense, especially after my show. But to answer your question, I would read it all. I won't go on Reddit anymore. Absolutely not. Ooh, no. Like, even somebody came up at the gym. Somebody came up to the owner of our gym and was like, did you see this? Like, somebody's talking shit about your trainer on Reddit. Yeah. Like, and some old dude from the gym had seen it.
Well, I guess I'm just trying to understand that it sounds like you mean well and you're helping, but... This
is what people do. They're like, natty or not? Is Kenzie natty or not? Or I just say, I have a lot of opinions.
Like, are you natural or not?
Yeah, I'm not. I'm very open about it. I tell people that all the time. I'm not. But then people will, like, talk shit about it, or even... I'm just aggressive. Like, a lot of people don't like the whole fuck your balance thing, right? But I also am very secure in who I am, and I stand by what I say. Like, you're never going to hear me say something, and if I don't agree with that, a year later, I'll tell you that. I'll tell you, oh, I don't believe that. I was stupid then, whatever. But I'm never going to, like, back down, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's important to know that, like, what you believe today can evolve over time.
Yeah.
I don't think I believe the same things today that I believed a week ago.
Yeah.
So so what's like an example of something, like, go into the balance piece, right? Like, what's something that you stand by that maybe comes across a bit controversial, and have an opportunity to explain yourself a little bit.
Okay, so the reason why I say fuck your balance is because of the influencers I was talking about, right?
Balance, as in like...
Balance, because
Do you know Alex Hormozy by chance?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, never mind, but he says something similar, but go ahead.
Okay. Basically, when I was trying to lose weight, I'm following all these influencers, 2017, 2018, right? They'll all tell you, oh, you need to be balanced. That's the only way this is ever going to work for you. You have to be balanced. But for someone like me, I would use balance as an excuse in my head. No, I just want Chick-fil-A today. But it's balanced though, so it's fine, right? Mm-hmm. And you convince yourself that. You're validating the things that you shouldn't be doing. You're like convincing yourself that it's okay because it's balanced. No, you just wanted to go out that night. You just didn't want to go to the gym. And a lot of people, I think, need to learn that you need to have periods of being unbalanced to get to that point of being balanced. And so that's what I would tell people. But people, when they hear fuck your balance, they don't like that, right? Because no, you need to be balanced, right? Yeah. But I have so many people reach out to me now that are like, I needed to hear that. Like, I lost 40 pounds because you told me that. Like, I get like stories like that all of the time. But it's like those, I'm very harsh and aggressive, but that's how you get views on TikTok too.
I mean, well,
you know?
I think there's a trend with like the demeanor that you carry yourself with. It's extreme. Like, you know, and
it's also extremely authentic.
Correct. Yeah, there you go. But like, I think if you want certain results, you know, the way you expedite results can normally it's like you shift your whole routine to be congruent with those results.
Exactly.
And so you're right. A Chick-fil-A meal doesn't fit in that, right? And like. So I think it is interesting how balance becomes almost like a facade for just lacking discipline.
Yeah.
And I think you can still do it with balance, but we misinterpret when we hear the word balance.
Like, everyone's balance is different, because the balance conversation I can talk about forever. Like, everyone's version of balance is different, and your balance can be different at different points in your life, different points in the year, whenever. But it's those, like, aggressive videos. Because I made a video like this a couple weeks ago. Because I used to make videos, like, yelling at you to go to the gym. That's how I got a lot of my following, too. I'd be like, your dad doesn't love you, go to the fucking gym. Like, those are the videos I'd make. And people were like, oh, I miss those videos. And I told them, I said, I stopped making those videos because I think people thought I was a mean person. Mm-hmm. And I don't like that. Like, every single time I meet someone in person that knows me from Instagram, TikTok, first thing they're going to say, without doubt, is, oh my God, you're so nice. I'm like, do you think I was going to kick you? Like, I'm not going to be mean to you. Unless, if you're not mean to me, I'm not going to be mean to you. But I think, like, those videos, if that's the only video you ever saw of me, was kind of giving off the wrong impression about, like, who I really was.
It's a short clip. There's no knowledge or substance around who you are as a person. So when you have a message, and there's a purpose behind the message is to drive engagement. You know what you're doing, but it's your dad doesn't love you, go to the gym. What are you actually saying?
For when I'm saying that, like, if I'm to be honest, like those videos, I would just come up with a random bullshit because they just were like, yelling me to go to the gym, like this got me to go to the gym, and I'm like,
Right.
okay, like I would just say the most out of pocket shit, if I'm gonna be honest. Like I don't think there was a purpose of that. It was just I started doing it, just kind of saying like whatever bullshit's happening in your life, like fuck it, like go to the gym, like stop not following your goals because you're mad about what some dude said to you or whoever's not texting you back, whatever. So I'd make little videos like that, but honestly, once people just started requesting them, I just came up with the most random shit.
And so, like, how do you balance that with also realizing that, like, that then gets associated with your identity as a person? Do you just say, I know who I am and I can be someone different on the internet? Or is it, I'm realizing that I also want to be perceived authentically?
Well,
how do
I
you balance
think
that?
the thing is too, if you're a follower of mine and you see more than just one video that came across your For You page, you know that's not who I am. Like, because even those videos, it's not like, oh, I'm just putting this out there because it gets views. Like, I am aggressive like that. Like, that is my personality. Like, you want to get something done, like, you either do it or you don't. Like, that's just how I am. But I think when people just see one video like that, and they're like, oh, that girl that yells all the time, she's so aggressive. But if you go to my page, if you go to my YouTube, I always say I can tell who follows me just on TikTok based on their comments. Like when they talk about like, oh, Kenzie's getting soft on us, like, oh, you're so emotional. I'm like, I can tell that you only follow me on TikTok. Because I talk about my emotions all the time on Instagram. I have videos of me crying on YouTube, but you don't see those because you just see me on TikTok. So I've kind of, my content's shifted a bit, but I think it's just what you see, basically, right? Like, you're going to think one way about someone if you only see a 10-second video of this person, but if you don't look at their 500 other videos, you're not going to know who they really are, you know?
So, you talking about emotions and all that, like, how are you doing right now?
Loaded question.
How's Kenzie doing right now? Not asking you to get emotional, I'm just asking you to get in tune with where you're at right now.
I am the happiest I've been since my show, I'll say. I talk about
Which was when?
In December.
Got it.
I did 3 shows in 10 days. Never do that if you're listening. That I did. Just from an emotional standpoint, whatever. Post-show, I gained a lot of weight back. Like, it just is what it is. I talk about it all the time on Instagram. Like, I'm not happy with how I look right now, and that's okay. And at the end of the day, like, it's literally just my body. My body does a lot of cool things for me. But I'm finally at that point post-show where I feel like I'm not constantly thinking about it. Like, if you talk to me in February, nah. Bad.
If I asked you to do this, would you have said yes still?
Oh yeah, I would have talked.
Yeah.
It's how I like looked that I just was so insecure about. And also, even after my show, because you have to gain weight after your show. It just is what has to happen, especially as a female, for you to like function properly, right? Mm-hmm. I just gained too much weight, right? And for me, I kind of got to a point where I had to ask myself, how do you feel? Not how do you think they're gonna think? Because for a long time, I was like, well, I'm going to get all this hate. And it's easy when you get hate when you are confident and, like, I don't know, like, you're like, okay, whatever, fuck you, right? But when they're telling you something that you're insecure about, you're like, oh, okay. like, thank you for validating that for me today. Like, every, like, intrusive thought you have, there's someone validating that for you when you're trying to talk yourself out of it. So post-show for me was kind of talking to myself and realizing, like, how do you feel? Not how do you think they're going to feel about it and how do you think what comments you're going to get, but how do you actually feel right now? And now I feel like I'm actually like fully in tune with that. And I'm in a place where I'm happy. I have good relationships and I'm not constantly thinking about what people on the internet are thinking about me. Or if they think that, oh, I'm not sharing enough. Or, oh, you used to be this way. We miss the old Kenzie. Because I get a lot of that now.
How important, sorry, were you asking something? I was just curious, like how important in your life are like your relationships?
My number one priority.
Because I asked just because for me, like as I've started to rebuild my circle a little bit, I've realized that like my mental health and like my general sense of joy has been night and day since I've started to put myself around people that I can feel that give me energy, that make me feel like I can be authentically me. So I'm just curious, like you said number one, maybe just elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, I think, because, whatever, my number one hate comment is always going to be, no, man, everyone wants to marry a woman like this, right? Because that's your number one goal as a female, right? Get married, have children, right? I think for me, what I love so much about sharing my life is that I get to show people that you can have as a single woman, you can have an extremely fulfilling life with the relationships around you without being in a romantic relationship. And I wish, like, growing up that I would have had somebody to look at like that. Because even when I was younger, I was like, I don't know if I really ever want to be married. Like, I don't know if I want to do that. But I think just the friendships I have and the friendships I have that don't even live in Chicago and getting to show people that and just have a fulfilling life in that aspect is, like, my favorite part about my life. Like, I would be nothing without my friends.
How is your social circle evolved from when you started to go, like, viral, and again, now your identity starts to get attached to your content a little bit, and you have to make sacrifices just to be a bodybuilder. You're probably making sacrifices to uphold your content creation. Did you have to make quote-unquote sacrifices in your social circle? Did it give you clarity as to who's real and who's not, and how has that reinvented itself over time?
I will say my biggest flex is that all my friends are real. Like, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, like, girls are so this, and I've had this many friendship breakups. I can't tell you the last friendship breakup I had that was, like, past the age of 18. Like, most of my friends, when I say I think why our relationships do well, I think people think most of my friends are in fitness. Absolutely not. If you're going to be in this industry, you need to have normal friends that have nothing to do with this. They don't know what a barbell is. Like, all of my friends I'm from northern Wisconsin, like, growing up, I always say I think our friendship works because we all do such different things that even if we wanted to be competitive with each other, I don't know how we do it. Like, I'd have to be really creative to figure out how I was going to be competitive with them because our lives are just that vastly different, and I think it works that way. But when you talk about, like, the social media thing, I can get into that. Like, people come back into your life, for sure, and they're, like, suddenly interested and want to be your friend again. I'm like, you weren't interested in me 4 years ago. Well, this is interesting. My ex from when I was, like, a child. Why are you here? Like, why are you in my DMs right now?
Do you entertain it or no?
So, like, I'll respond, but I'm not like, oh, my God, we should hang out. No. You didn't want to hang with me 3 years ago. Why do you want to hang with me now? Like, why am I suddenly your favorite person? I don't know. Like, I get a lot of that sometimes, but it's not as much as I think people would expect. But
I have a question. Oh, sorry. I was gonna change subjects a little bit.
You come across as, like, you're the loudest voice to yourself between your own ears, and I'm just you talked about something a little bit earlier about coming off the 3 shows and then putting on weight and saying, I don't feel good about where I'm at. When you say you put on too much, like, what are you using to measure that? Is it how you feel you're being perceived? Is it medically? Like, are there certain quantified metrics that you're looking at? What are you using now? Because there are so many influences to move that around for yourself. What are you using to gauge how you feel about your weight?
So I guess post-show, like, there's just, like, it's like the bodybuilding terms. Blues. It's like, well, post-show blues, but it's also, like, in bodybuilding terms, like, you need to put on weight, but your metabolism is on fire. It's doing a bunch of crazy shit after your show, right? It's very, 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 very easy to put on a lot of weight very, very quickly. It's like when people say, oh, I gained 30 pounds in 2 weeks. They're not kidding. Mm-hmm. Like, it happens like that. But you don't want to be so far away from stage weight again that the next time you prep, you're like, oh, I got to lose 50 pounds. Like, that's what I mean. It's really just like what you're supposed to do in bodybuilding terms, but I do a lot of shit you're not supposed to do. Honestly, I think a lot of people look at me sideways for how much I drink in off season, but I don't care, because at the end of the day, I have a life to live. Like, I don't know. Like, there's, like, things that you're supposed to do and not supposed to do, but also I think the hard part for me is my first competition season, like, in December, that was my first time competing ever. I competed for the first time with so many eyes on me, which I think is just... It doesn't happen to a lot of people. A lot of people get to do their first, like, post-show by themselves, whereas for me it was, what are you doing? What do you look like? Like, show us your check-in photos. Like, just everything. Your followership. Yes. Like, I think that pressure is, like, what took a lot from me. Even after my show, I took a month off of social media. Like,
Describe that experience.
It was amazing.
God, I need to do it. Everyone I asked has done it. It
wasn't that I wasn't, it was me not posting. I've never, like, completely gone off. To be honest, I don't know if I could do that.
So even not posting for a month.
That was because for me, like, the resentfulness I told you earlier, I really felt that after my show because I'm someone that overshares on the internet. I used to post like 12 TikToks a day. And so for me, only posting 3 times a day, she never posts anymore. Like, I miss the old Kenzie. She never posts, right? Or that's even exhausting, right? Or YouTube, like the week of my peak week, which is the week right before your show, I posted 4 YouTube videos that week. on that 5th day, where's the YouTube video? I'm like, I just gave you 4 of them. What are you talking about? And I just felt resentful, even like when I had gotten off stage. Where's the YouTube video? I was like, I just got off stage. Like, can I just enjoy this time with my friends and family? And so, like, that's why I felt, like, resentful towards my audience. I didn't like that. I was like, I just need to take a break. And I was going on vacation with my family after my show. We all went to Mexico. It was just nice to live and feel like a person without feeling like, oh, this is content. You should be filming this. You need to post this on your story. Like, just everything is content at a point. And just differentiating, like, your life and being able to live it without being like, this has to be posted.
And I've got to record my life.
Yes.
So that's interesting. Like, we talk a lot about one-to-one interpersonal relationships. How would you describe your relationship with your audience?
Like, I feel... This is a complex question. So... I have a very, very, very cult-like following, and I do feel like I can tell whether I like someone. Like, I will meet people in real life. I'm like, you want to go out? Like, I feel like they know me so much because I share so much of me. I honestly don't even know why I share this much of my life and who I am. It's actually scary sometimes.
But you're helping people.
Like,
you say oversharing, but I don't know if I'd categorize it as oversharing because there's people that you're serving to an extent that need to hear. And again, you're just being yourself.
Yeah.
You're just sharing it with the world, really.
Yeah, I think I just question, like, why I'm so open to sharing so much of myself sometimes. I'm like, what's wrong with you?
You think it's therapeutic? Because for me, like,
probably.
Stuff like this and sharing my story, for me, is therapeutic.
Yeah. Well, even, like, it's helpful, like, sorry, I'm kind of going off track here. Like, with the Dark Sport, the brand I'm signed with, they do a lot of photo shoots. In February, I told you that was, like, my low point, right? We went to Hawaii with them, which was amazing. We had a photo shoot. I remember getting the photos back, and I just cried. Like, I was just like, I hate how I look. But then I stopped, and I, like, thought to me when I was in, like, 18, 19, whatever, and Gymshark was popping at the time, right? And I remember her name's Ajazi Gardner. We're friends now, which is crazy. She was their only athlete that wore a size medium. And, like, to me at the time, she was, like, the greatest person ever. Like, I loved her. And when I looked at those photos, I was like, you know what? If it helps anyone out there that, because everyone else on that team, on the brand I'm sponsored with, they're all thin. Like, let's be real. Like, I'm like the thick girl representation at this point. And I looked at those photos, I was like, you know what? I made a video about it because I was literally crying. And I was like, if this helps anyone, like, it's worth it for me. And I got so many comments that were like, no, like, you, like, make me feel seen. And then what was cool is I had a photo shoot with them in Utah 2 weeks ago. And it was the first time in a long time that I just didn't think anything about my body. I was just like, oh, I look good, I feel good, like, this is awesome, like, whatever. And I don't even look that different. And somebody DM'd me, and they're like, it's so cool, like, watching your vlog back from February to now, and just, like, seeing how much has changed, and just the fact that she's like, thank you for, like, sharing your life with us. And it was just cool to me that they get to see all of these milestones, which I think is cool. Like, there are people that followed me, like, when me and Sam lived together, from when Sam died, from when I was like, I don't think I'm going to do my show, to I'm doing my show, to now, and I think that's cool, because I do feel like they're my friends most of the time.
It almost allows you to, like, constantly self-reflect, because you have people bringing up, like, oh, you went from here to here. Wow, like, you're constantly being reminded of the progress that you're making, which I think is super important for us, because a lot of times it's always, well, what, I got to hit this now, I got to hit my next goal, I got to do this, and we never look back and actually enjoy the journey.
Yeah, no, I think that's the fun part, is when people just get to see my life, and I also think it makes me appreciate it more, especially, like, I share a lot about my family. They love my parents, they love my brother, and I think it makes me more grateful for what I have. Especially when I talk to people, like, I always say, anyone I meet in person, no one's ever weird in real life. The only weird people only exist online. So even when I get, like, upset, because I think on the other side of it is people think that they know me more than I know myself, which that is what will make me the most mad. Like, I one time had a girl, like, send me this long-ass message about how I need to go to therapy and all the reasons I'm fucked up, and I sent her a voice memo. I was like, you do not get to tell me what to do with my life. Who are you? But, like, both sides of it. But those people you never meet in real life. The people you meet in real life, always cool, always love them. I'm like, we would be friends in real life, for sure.
It's constant. Yeah, you're constantly being forced almost to be grateful, because you constantly have people that say, like, not I wish I was you, but, like, wow, this is so cool what you're doing. Like, I wish I was in that position. And so, for at least I think about, like, if that was happening to myself, while there are downsides, like, that would always keep me humble. Like, oh yeah, wow, I'm in a great position. Because there are people that wish they were doing what I'm doing.
Because I'll always tell people too, like, when they message me, I'm like, you're the reason I do this. Like, I'll get messages all the time about, like, people who've had people that have died in their lives, like, and they're like, you're the reason I'm going to keep on going. Like, I've gotten messages, I'm like, You think that I got you through this? Like, I couldn't even do that. Like, I get the craziest stories in my DMs. I'm like, don't tell me that I helped you, please. Like,
it's the awareness of your audience, your awareness of what everyone is saying, and your aha moments, or the times they make you pause and reflect, or the times that they get a reaction from you, and maybe you're like, okay, well, why am I spending time and energy here? Like, there has to be just millions of lessons you've learned by putting your entire life out on the internet and letting reactions just come in from all angles. Like, what are 1 to maybe 3 just top learnings about yourself that you've had on this journey?
oh, I will say I do regret a lot of the things I used to post. I'm so happy that I share so much of my life. There are times that I've had times throughout my life that have been, it's not that I don't want to share it, but I kind of have realized, like, oh, the following I have, because I think the reason why a lot of people follow me is I still post like I have 2,000 followers, when that's not the reality at all. But, like, there are times, like, when I have friends that have milestones and I want to post about it, but I feel weird about it sometimes. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to share this. Like, because I always say, like, I choose to put my life on the internet. My friends and family,
right.
I'm never going to put a camera in your face if I don't ask beforehand. Like, I think that's just weird. I think what I've learned about myself, though, is how much I'm not as much as a homebody or just, like, loner as I thought I was. Like,
I can resonate.
like,
Go ahead.
like, I've always been that way. Like, I live alone. Like, I love being by myself. But I go on TikTok Live. Well, I can't go on TikTok Live anymore. But Instagram Live all the time. It's, like, my way of connecting with people. Like, I think I miss that connection of talking to people, like, even, like, having a roommate. So being able to talk, it sounds actually insane because I'm not actually talking to them.
Because there was actually, I think I reposted on my story a couple days ago, but it was this idea of around a therapist told me, and that, you know, I suffer from, not me, but this post was they suffer from social anxiety, when in reality you might just be hanging out around the wrong crowd.
Yeah.
And you actually may be very social. It's just you're putting yourself around bad energy or energy that doesn't match you. And I think that was, like, super, it hit me like a ton of bricks, because I used to be the same way. I wouldn't say I suffer from total social anxiety, but I would drink my way through it.
Yeah.
So I was less anxious, whereas now I don't even feel the need to have a sip of alcohol around the right crowd. And I can be super social.
Yeah. No, I feel that. Like, it's, because I don't know, I used to always be like, like, no, I'm an introvert. No, I'm like, I like to be around people. I like to talk to people, which is weird because you hear me talk. Like, obviously I like to talk. But I think I've learned that. I've also just kind of, like, learned just kind of, like, this is who I am. Like, if you like it, cool. If you don't, that's fine. Like, there's always...
You're never going to please everyone.
Yes, exactly. Like, there's always some people that don't like me. There's some people that like me. And the people that like me, it's worth it. Like, that's kind of what it's been for me.
So, I want to ask you something. It was before the show we were talking about this, but I asked you about the video that made you viral on TikTok.
Yes.
And just explain what that video was.
Okay.
And I specifically want you to hit on the last point that you made out of the 5.
Okay. So, first video ever, it was just I don't know why I even decided to make it. Like, it was just, like, my 10 friends that followed me on TikTok, whatever. And it was just a video that was like, these are 5 things that nobody tells you about weight loss. And the last one was, losing weight will not make you happier. And it went viral because half of the people agreed and half the people were like, no, that's so wrong. You will be happier if you lose weight. And then from there, I just started answering a bunch of questions and just made more content from there. But that was the first
So what
video.
makes you say losing weight won't make you happy?
Because, well, even if you just talk about body dysmorphia, right? I always say this, that, like, accepting it is easier than trying to overcome it. Like, accepting that I am always going to think I'm the fat friend no matter where I am, no matter what I look like, has made my life so much easier. And I think realizing that you aren't going to be a happier person, your relationships aren't going to be better, you aren't going to be better as a person, you're not going to show up differently just because you're thinner. And I think a lot of people assume that, okay, well, once I lose the weight, then this will happen, and then I'll have a boyfriend, and then I won't have this drama in my life, and I'll have a job, and, like, I think people just have this high expectation of, like, what life is in a thinner body. And then once they get there and they realize, like, oh shit, all the problems I had when I was overweight, I still have them. Like, damn. And I think that's what a lot of people, I had to learn that, especially just, like, when it comes to confidence and just who I am, because there were times when I was overweight that I was more confident than I was when I was thinner, like throughout the years. My body has gone through so many different phases. But
That's actually a brilliant point, because there's perhaps a correlation between people who are getting or becoming physically fit, or who are physically fit. They're likely also working on their mental fitness, and there's probably a congruency or a correlation between those who lose weight and also are growing their happiness. But it doesn't cause the happiness, because a lot of people, myself included, when I first got into the gym, and probably to some extent, I'll admit, it probably comes from a place of vanity. And I want to look a certain way, and I still have this interpersonal comparison with the guy next to me, and ultimately the bigger I get, the stronger I get, the more cut I get, there's still that vanity aspect, there's still that insecurity perhaps, there's still that competition, that envy, there's still something flawed about that person that could still eat away at them. So it's not so much that the actual physical transformation of the body is leading to happiness. Happiness is its own category.
Yeah, well, I always say, like, nobody gets into bodybuilding, nobody gets in the gym because they're super secure with themselves. Like, nobody gets into it. I don't know.
That's why I got into lifting in junior year of high school, was because I was skinny and I was super insecure.
Yeah.
And it gave me a little bit of confidence.
Exactly. Like, it's either that, or a lot of dudes are like, oh, like, I'll get girls if I'm big. And then they're like, oh, girls don't care. And then you're like, that's not actually why I was here in the first place.
What probably causes the happiness for those when they do lose weight is more so the journey, like the fact that they were able to stay disciplined with themselves. Right. It's not so much the end result.
Yeah.
Right? You might get, oh, wow, you lost so much weight, and that external validation feels good, but it's very temporary.
Yes.
It's more about, I'm happy with myself, and the work that I put on, that I did for myself is what's going to generate the happiness.
And that's what people don't understand about bodybuilding, because, like, to the regular person, it's like, I had to do upward to 2 hours of cardio. The lowest I got was closer to, like, 900 calories. Like, people are like, why would you do that? Like, that's awful. And it's not even about show day. It's about, or even, like, throughout that journey, right? They're like, well, what would happen if you had one singular chip? It's not about the chip. It's about the fact that you stuck through and did what you said you were going to do. So then on show day, you can look back and you have no regrets, because you know I did every single thing I had to do to get to this position. So it doesn't matter what the result is. It doesn't matter if I win, if I lose. I know I did what I had to do.
You kept so many promises to yourself.
Yes.
And that's so key. I think what we've learned just with our conversations is just the person who can keep those promises to themselves, that can act on discipline, that can display to themselves, prove to themselves that they have a sense of resilience. It's the trait accumulation that can generate the joy or the peace and the gratitude in life, and it's the physical transformation is just a side effect.
Yeah.
And the trophy, like winning or losing, you want to win, but to your point, if you've done everything that you possibly can, that almost doesn't even matter.
Exactly. Like, it's, you did what you had to do at the end of the day, right?
So you may not have an answer for this, because you said you share most everything, right? You're super open online with everyone.
I might.
What do you want people to know
Oh, never mind.
about Kenzie that most people don't know?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't, that most people don't know. I feel like they know everything. I think
that's why I said you might not have a great answer.
In general, like, I'm not this mean, like, really aggressive person. Like, I don't know. I feel like the people that know me, when they see these comments about me, they're like, what? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm a nice person. Like, I care about people. I don't know if I would say I'm like an empath necessarily, but I'm a very passionate person. And I think that gets lost, because you can see I'm passionate about a lot of things, but when it comes to anything in my life, like, I don't know, like, if I like you, like, I ride for you. And I don't know, I think you kind of get that from
Where do you think that comes from? Just like the loyalty?
That is a great question. I don't...
Family?
I guess family, because my parents have... I don't know, my parents are just great people, but they have always had such strong friendships. And I would say I think that's why they can last for as long as they have. Is, yes, they have a lot of similar friends, but they have their own thing. They do their own thing. Like, they've always had, like, I don't know, they're from northern Wisconsin, so it's just snowmobile and, like, it's just stuff like that. But they've always had, like, a life outside of each other while also being with each other. And I think just, like, seeing that and just the relationships that they've had, like, my parents were never, like, homebodies, ever. I can't tell you a weekend that my parents did not have something okay, we're going this place, we're doing this, like there's always something happening.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And they've always just kind of had a life like that. So I guess from there, I've never really thought about it though. So
I mean, I think that's the answer, because
right?
a lot of us did not grow up around that.
Yeah.
You kind of figure it out through life experiences. Sounds like you figured it out early on in your life through just watching.
Yeah.
What's your biggest self project right now? Like where are you still deficient? What's your number one area of development where you're still trying to, or maybe just starting to work on?
If I can be so for real, the whole like dead friend thing, I've yet to go to therapy for that. Like when she had passed was the same time that social media, no, literally the day she passed was the first day I got like a PR package. And like, I would say it's a blessing. Like, I'm like, thank you for this. But like business went up the second she died. So I kind of like, it didn't feel like I was sad for a long time. But I don't really feel like I allowed myself to work through any of it.
Like properly grieve.
Yeah, well, because
pause that.
Yeah, even this is like when you're like, oh, will you talk about anything? Like I talk about literally everything on TikTok. I used to talk about this all the time. She had a boyfriend when she died that I absolutely despise. He knows I'm blocked on everything, and like looking back, I think it was not that what he did wasn't wrong, but I think it was easier for me to put my energy into how much I hated him because then I didn't have to think about it. And I did that for such a long time. Whereas like now I'm like just putting that together. I'm like, okay, did you actually ever grieve this? Because I'll go through times where obviously I'm an aggressive person, but sometimes I'm just mad for no reason. Like, why are you so fucking mad? And I'm like,
it's not no reason.
It's not no reason. And just like, I don't know, my life has changed a lot in the past couple of years. But just like, I think actually working through that shit is something that I need to do. Because
I would say thank you for sharing that, because that being super vulnerable and honest on a show to admit that, like, hey, I've been basically avoiding this piece and distracting myself.
Yeah, well, because people ask me all the time, like, how did you get through it? I'm like, there's no, like, you learn, it's not even coping, it's just you learn how to continue your life. But I'm like, don't, because people put me on a pedestal all the time. I'm like, don't act like I am like the mental health queen. Like, no, I put that back there for a long time. Yeah. And I won't even say, like, in this moment, it's not still back there. Like,
yeah, it sounds like you, in no fault of your own, just maybe a consequence of your content and just who you are and your presence. It sounds like there were so many distractions and different outlets.
It was easy.
I was just going to say it's easier to
Yeah, it's so much easier than to grieve, right? Because you can distract yourself to no end. And it sounds like you're getting to a place where you're like, wait a second, there's still something that's not going to go away until I ultimately address it, which is something that, Matt's talked about very openly, is it only gets worse.
Yeah.
And you seem really self-aware about that.
It's just one of those things, too, where, like, because I'd never been to therapy before, right? And when she died, I was like, I have to go to therapy. Like, that's just, like, what you do. After someone dies, you go to therapy. And then I had some, like, close friends of mine that were like, therapy's a lot of work, babe. Like, they were like, you can do it. Like, do whatever you want, but, like, don't feel like you have to do it right now. Because I was like, work is so busy right now. Like, that's when my, like, coaching business was, like, booming. It was just, like, so much happening. They're like, you can deal with that in, like, 6 months if you need to, like, type of thing. They're like, you don't have to do that now. And so when they told me that, I was like, okay. I just, like, ran with it.
I mean, that's actually very good advice, because I think you need to do it when you're ready.
Yeah, and I was not.
I was going to ask you about that, actually, and I'll just ask, because we talked about just a binary, do you need to go or not need to go? And we talked about some people need to go and some people should still go, but maybe don't need to go. Is there an in-between of like, hey, you need to go, but so long as you're aware that you need to, so long as you make that promise to yourself that you will go, there's a readiness component that I think gets lost in translation when it comes to therapy. It's not so much if they need to or not need to, it's do they need to is the first box they check, and then it becomes, well, are they ready to? And how do we work on not just raising awareness around destigmatizing it, helping somebody understand and become aware that they need to go, but let's start to talk about, because I don't know if I don't understand it myself, but like how do you start to work towards, or how do you start to work on readiness? How did readiness grow for each of you?
I mean, readiness for me grew through pain of like, I don't want to keep doing this anymore, so I'm going to go to therapy ready to make a change. So the second I stepped into that, it was in a therapy office, it was over Zoom, but COVID, but I was ready to make a change.
Yeah.
And I think the first step is self-awareness. So if you know you need to go, but you don't feel ready, I think you're already halfway there. but you also have to identify, like, if it's been a year now has passed and you still haven't gone, like, identify, like, hey, why am I still putting this off? Like, I know I need to do this, but why is this continuing to get put off? Like, what am I really scared of here? What am I really afraid to address?
I know,
and that actually might be a sign that, like, maybe I should give this a try. You know, like, you don't have to give your whole life story, but, like, take that next step if you find yourself struggling, because if you're still struggling to go, but you know, like, I've got to work on this, like, that might be a little sign.
That makes sense.
Was it fatigue from the pain? Was it anger at the pain? What was your relationship with the pain that ultimately made you, so to speak, cave in?
The pain of just not being able to be myself. The pain of feeling like I had so much more to give to the world and just not being able to do it. The pain of, like, having life happen to me, not having no control, feeling like I had no control over my life, not creating the life I wanted to live. There's a lot of things combined, but I just got to a point where it's like, I've made little baby steps to, like, kind of address this, but I really haven't. Like, now I need to do this.
Yeah.
Was there, like, an awareness of, like, a future regret? Like, I'm not going to live my fullest life.
For me, like, I always look at them, like, because, you know, you see these TikToks, it's like they interview people that are 80 years old. What do you wish you would have known earlier in life? What do you wish you would have done differently? And everyone says, I wish I wouldn't have cared so much what other people thought of me.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to live my life and have that answer.
Yeah.
And that would have been my answer if I didn't address what I needed to address.
Okay, that makes sense.
What about you?
The whole Ready part, I don't even think it was because I was afraid of grieving her death. I think going to therapy scares me because I don't want to find out, like, I don't want to dig through, like, the rest of it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the part. It's not even her death. It's me being like, do we really got to go through this childhood shit?
Why
We got
not?
to do that? Come on.
What deters you from that? Is it because you're a hard worker? There's no way you do what you're able to do without hard work.
Yeah.
So it's not for it's not for laziness. But what's the and I ask this question because your answer is going to relate to a lot of people that listen to this, right? And that's where the question comes from. But it's like, where does that, you know?
I think for me, it's like, I think I know like, before Sam. Like, I would have told you I had to go to therapy before that. Just, like, my relationships with, like, men particularly. Like, I don't know if I've been ready to, like, dive into, like, why. Especially my, like, hyper-independence. I think it's, like, with Sam, I think I have this idea of, like, what it would kind of be to go through it in therapy. But I think by going to therapy, I'm opening up a door to, like, having to work on all the other shit that I, like, know I need to, like, come to terms with and not just be like, it's fine.
What I would, if I were to give you some advice, it would be to flip that mindset of, like, I'd have to open up these other doors, these dark doors that I don't want to go into, of, like, I get to do this. Like, this is going to be really painful, but you can, if you can lose 50 pounds in however many months and be a bodybuilder, like, you know you're strong. I think deep down, you know you're strong enough to do it, and life is going to be so much more even beautiful than it already is when you're able to kind of work through it.
Well, it's funny that you say that because I tell people that all the time. I'm like, you don't have to, you get to.
But muscle growth is pain, too.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's painful to grow your muscles.
I know, I really do. And well, the thing is, I even told TikTok. I told people that follow me, like, they will stay on my ass about it. I gotta stop telling them to keep me accountable. To be honest, because they will keep me accountable. I think I said this. This was last year. This is before the conversation with my friends. And I was like, y'all, if I don't have a therapist by March, like, come for my ass, right? And then, they were in the DMs. Do you have a therapist yet? Like, oh, no, they will stay on me. But then at that time, like, I explained, like, this is why I don't want one, but...
I totally like, there's stuff in my life that I haven't addressed that I've kind of put off. It's just, if it gets to a point, like, as long as you recognize, like, I am avoiding it.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I think that's that's healthy because you're aware of it. But, like, if you, at some point, you're going to be ready. Like, I have friends there, it's like, they've asked for my therapist 6 months ago or 3 months ago, and I know they still haven't seen him. So it's like, you know they need to take that. They know they need to take that step, but it's just...
I mean,
it's a hard step. It is a big first step, though. It's the most important one.
I got health insurance, like, last month, so I'm on my way.
Oh, that's another thing that we just take for granted, which we won't get into, but, like, the access to therapy that costs for some people. But anyway... We've got 3. First of all, thank you for coming on.
Course.
This was this is one of those conversations where it's like, oh shoot, we're at an hour 5 minutes.
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
3 rapid fire questions for you. I think we
Okay.
already might know your first one because you mentioned it earlier in the show. But what's like your favorite quote or like the best piece of advice that you've ever gotten?
People are just people.
That was the one for
Is there a second favorite? Okay, we don't have to do that. Or maybe one that you impart on most of your clients.
The one that comes to mind, which is just sad to say, not even sad to say, but those last 2 reps you bitched out on, the girl next to you on stage did. That's what I say to myself every single time I train, but that's a little bit more of a hardcore answer.
Yeah.
But
I like it.
Symbolic.
it's true.
Symbolic. All right, second one. If you could have dinner with anyone in the world, dead or alive, who would it be? And
Ruth
why?
Bader Ginsburg.
Sorry?
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Oh.
Same
Why?
with, she'd kill me if I didn't pick her. That's always my answer. Sam would actually murder me if I did not pick her.
Oh, Sam. I thought you were Ruth.
Oh, no, you're like,
I was like,
oh,
wait,
no.
I don't think-
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
Okay,
Sam,
I got
no.
you. I got you.
No, Sam would be so bad if I had the opportunity and didn't. Yeah.
I in my head, I was like, that's going to be our answer. You never know. Lastly, like, what do you like to do? Free time, hobbies? What do you
Free
like to do
time
when you're-
hobbies? I really just like to hang out with my friends. I like, this is going to sound so materialistic. I like to be by myself when I'm out. Like, I like to go and get coffee by myself, go shopping. I like to go to the gym. I like to go and try different restaurants, which is like counterproductive to what I do. But I don't know. I like to, like, living in the West Loop.
Explore is what I heard.
Yeah, explore. Yeah, I don't know. I like to live. I like to, even when I talk about, like, I would say, like, oh, I'm outside. Like, I'm being outside. People are always like, oh, like, you just like to drink. I'm like, no, I just like to be out. Like, in a city with people.
Yeah.
And I'm a city girl at heart. I don't know.
Northern Wisconsin?
Yeah, I said at heart.
All right. Thank you so much, Kenzie. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Oh, this is fun.
Was it?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
That was good. I've always wanted